Now, as far as the colonists were concerned, the Stamp Acts were really going too far. The Stamp Acts made the colonists really, really mad. As a matter of fact, it made it so mad that when the British officials would come to collect this tax, sometimes the colonists would start throwing rocks and things out. They tarred and feathered some of these tax agents. Now remember, we talked about being tarred and feathered before. They would pour very, very hot tar on somebody, cover them in feathers, and they laughed and thought it was funny. But it wasn't funny because when they went to take this tar and feather off, a lot of times it would leave really, really sores on them. It would take the skin off of people. It was very, very painful. So it really wasn't anything funny about it. But the colonists would tar and feather them so that they could get a good laugh at them and to try to scare and intimidate these tax agents and keep them from coming around to collect these taxes. A lot of times people would get so angry they would even start riots. Riots would break out in different places throughout the colony. The British were shocked. They had no idea that the colonists were going to get this angry about paying taxes. After all, the whole reason that they were paying taxes was to make up for a debt that was incurred in the French and Indian War. The French and Indian War was fought for the American colonists, so they couldn't figure out why the American colonists were getting so angry about having to pay these taxes. But the problem was that the people did not feel like it was fair because they were not being represented in Congress. Had they been represented, well, they didn't have Congress. We have Congress. They have Parliament. But their Parliament is a lot like our Congress. Had they been represented, then that would have been different. But they felt like it wasn't fair because they weren't being represented. Now, the people in Great Britain were actually paying more taxes than the American colonists were, but they were okay with that because they did have representatives in Parliament. Because the people in the American colonies had no representatives, they did not think that it was fair for them to have to pay taxes. So the colonists were actually willing to pay taxes, but only if the taxes were passed by their own colonial legislature that they had elected and that they had chosen to represent them in the colonies.